is Linda Buswini. I'm the co-curator of this climate-inspired art installation with Stephanie Marlin Curiel. And today is all about moving hearts and minds through art to take action on climate change. So we have paired 10 artists and 10 scientists and created 10 different installations. There's a whole outdoor installation with some pretty amazing sculptures.
I collaborated with Josh Goldman, who is working on cultivating and researching a particular seaweed that grows well in the tropics. So he's farming it in Vietnam. And this particular seaweed, if it is a tiny amount is fed, added to a cattle diet, cow's diet, steer's diet, the copious amounts of methane that cattle burp from digesting their diet, their normal diet, is diminished to about 95%, is diminished by 95%. And the methane that cattle produce overall, 25% of it comes from their digestion. So given the enormous carbon footprint that cattle and cows have, this is a great boon to the impact of our diet on the planet. However, there is not a commercially available huge amount of this seaweed available, so he's doing the research and growing it in order to provide a resource for the cattle diet. So I was thinking, trying to think of different ways to interact with collaborate with him, and he kept emphasizing how beautiful he thinks a seaweed is, which grows vertically on ropes that they have anchored in the ocean. And but just thinking about the impact of what he was doing, I said, well, if cows can change their diet, so can we. So I will make a carbon footprint that will get greener as people make pledges to reduce their carbon footprint. So that's where it came. And then the vine sort of echoes what they're doing, growing things, and also the logo for this company is this sort of vertical vine that's similar to what's happening on the other side of this sculpture and may happen all the way around it. I mean, another way to green your carbon footprint would have been to have actual plants growing up this, but it's not quite the time of year when pea vines are active. They're just being planted now.
My name is Freedom Baird, and I'm an artist based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So this piece is called Till. It's a piece I made with the scientist Daniela Malin. She works with 2 organizations. One is the Sustainable Food Lab, and the other is the Cool Farm Alliance. And what this piece is about is the work done by those organizations and organizations that are similar to those, which is this kind of layer of activity that's kind of invisible to everyday consumers when it comes to farming and food. And that is the idea that in huge multinational corporations that work with food like Archer Daniels Midland and Danone and PepsiCo, there are decisions being made at a very high level that influence farmers to change their farming practices. And so when those decisions get made, there can be a really big impact on the amount of carbon retained in the soil. So Daniela's organization and other similar organizations work with these high-level leaders to help them understand this idea of carbon accounting and how retaining carbon in the soil with different farming practices is not only beneficial for the environment, but it saves money. So in the end, it's all about money and using money to incentivize farmers to change their farming practices. So that's why this piece is a cash register, because I wanted to just open up the conversation about money. And this is a cash register from 1965, and parts of it still work. So if we open the register, you can see that there are coins in here from all over the world. And a visitor to the piece can take a coin and scan this QR code, and they're being offered an incentive by me to do something that benefits farming and regenerative agriculture, and I will pay them a certain amount of money if they take on that challenge. So the incentive I'm offering kind of parallels the incentives that take place in these big companies. So that's the idea behind the piece.
Hello, my name is Lisa Barthelson. I'm an artist from the area. I'm working on Tapped In on a project with Juliana Birnbaum, who's from regeneration.org. I created the plastic wave. I just want people to understand that plastic, beyond being a permanent pollutant, it never totally disappears. It also fuels climate change between the creation of greenhouse gases and the distribution through fossil fuel transportation. We create a lot of greenhouse gases that make climate change expand and worsen over the years. How did I do this? I called Concord residents and I asked them to hang on to their plastic for a 2-week period and deliver it to the Umbrella Art Center. And we got a lot of plastic. Some of it that's recyclable and much that is not. It depends on what the plastic is and whether the system accepts that plastic for recycling. So this plastic came from Concord, and you can see from the various containers what Concordians collect and what they attempt to recycle. This is a wave shape because the plastic wave is taking over. We are overwhelmed with the amount of plastic that's put into our environment, and which is really, for the most part, not recycled. About 7% of the plastic globally is recycled. That's not much. And every year we increase the amount of plastic that goes into the environment. Here is an example of some of the plastic that I collected. Thank you, Concord. This is your plastic. One of the things that I really would like to note, and I think is important for everyone to remember, is that when you do attempt to recycle, you have to recycle clean plastic. I can't tell you how much plastic is not cleaned, and what happens at the recycling center, it's kicked out. It will not be accepted. And what happens to it then? It's trucked away and it goes to an incinerator or a landfill. And again, contributes to climate change. So what is the solution? There is hope, but the big thing is we need to reduce. We need to either have a circular system where the producers of plastic are responsible for it, either reusing it or reducing it from the outset. So I'd love to have Concordians come here, take a look at the wave, get the feeling that, oh my, so much of that stuff looks like what I use, what I touch, what I try to recycle. We've got to change. We have to all take action. I really think this is important. And I hope that this sort of chaotic morass of plastic really gets that across to every resident of every place in the Commonwealth and across the world. Now, I'd sort of like to introduce Juliana Birnbaum. She's from regeneration.org, and she was my partner. I really think everyone should go and check out this website. It has so many solutions and recommendations for actions. Juliana, take it away.
Yeah, Project Regeneration, we have a database of solutions called Nexus, where you can see a solution, learn about it, and then also find out what you can do, not only as an individual, but how can you leverage communities that you're a part of. So maybe at your work community, if you're a teacher, or if you're a farmer, or if you're an investor, what are specific actions that you can take to support that solution? And we also look at challenges like plastic, and look up and research what governments can do to support those solutions, what kind of policies can change, and then refer people to organizations that they can be part of, that they can be a part of the change. So really trying to leverage people's agency and help them see that these years are so crucial for climate change. We need to have our emissions by 2030 and basically reduce them completely by 2050 to have any hope of avoiding the worst consequences of global warming. So while it's easy sometimes to feel despair at the news around climate change, there are so many solutions, and at Project Regeneration we're looking into about 100 of them. And so I think there's a space for everybody to take action and find something that they can do to push away that feeling of despair and to really lift themselves up and find ways that they can be involved in the solutions.
There's hope. There's hope for everyone, and I think it takes action from the individual, from the community, and globally. But we really need to take action now, and we're hoping that all of these beautiful sculptures and all the work with scientists and organizations like Regeneration will spur people to really look around them and say, what can I do? What can I do today? What can I do in the future to ensure the best future for all of us? Thank you.
Inside is the research and the process that they went through to create the art. Also happening today is a Mendathon, where we have menders upstairs right now. They're sewing flowers on if you have like a moth hole, or they're fixing zippers or adding buttons so that we don't add clothes into the waste stream, and also teaching people how to mend their own clothes. And we also have youth tour guides from Concord Middle School and also Middlesex High School, who are all trained up, ready to go, teaching, informing those who come to learn about the exhibit, and they're walking around with them inside and out.
Hi, my name is Emily Heston Fuller, and I was a tour guide at the Umbrella Art exhibit. And one thing I found that was really cool was that the art pieces were for many different audiences, and some of them were interactive, and I find that really cool because things are a lot more interesting to me if I get to interact with them, and a lot of these were like that. Like there was a piece where you could step through it and cut out a footprint and paste it on there. And then I also liked how each of them had a deeper meaning behind just the sculpture that the artist created. And I liked how they also incorporated a bit of science into their artistic pieces.
I'm Lucy DeAngelis, and I was a tour guide for the Umbrella Tapped In exhibit. And I really liked being a tour guide because it was very interesting leading people around so they could learn more about climate change and our planet. I think one of the best parts for the people touring was that they could see the art, and then if they wanted to learn more, they could dig deeper inside. And I think that was a very interesting part of it. The exhibits were a very cool things, and I would definitely recommend other people to be tour guides. It was very fun and interactive, and I learned a lot more.
And then at 4 o'clock today, we have a really exciting fashion show. It's a slow fashion show, so it's the opposite of fast fashion, and it's upcycled clothing, sustainable clothing, and it's all masterminded by Chinara Lamb and Rework students from Lawrence, Massachusetts. And we also have 2 other designers contributing, Stevie Lay and Iris Munson. So that happens at 4. That's going to be the whole galleries filled with models walking and inspiration in terms of other ways we can look good without creating waste in the waste stream. So that's what's happening today. And the exhibit just is called Tapped In, and it should be up, and it'll be up until the first week of June. So we really encourage people to come. There's lots of interactive things you can do. Just come anytime. Okay, so why is it called Tapped In? Well, the organizing metaphor for this installation is a bathtub, believe it or not. And the good news about a bathtub is that most people have been in a bathtub, so they know how it works. And the idea is that the amount of greenhouse gases going into the atmosphere through burning fossil fuels, through driving cars, methane from cows, that is going into the atmosphere at twice the rate that is flowing out right now. So the faucet on this metaphor represents emissions going into the tub, which is the atmosphere. The drain are carbon sinks, so oceans, forests, meadows are all draining down the carbon. And like I said, right now, it's twice the amount going in as is going out. And if you know how a bathtub works, you know that that means that the level in the tub is going to go up. And even if we turn down that faucet a little bit, we reduce emissions by 10%, that's not going to be enough to really take down the level in the tub the way we need to. So it's really getting people aware of the faucet, turning down emissions, and the drain, which is carbon sinks. You know, anything to absorb good no-till practices in farming, et cetera. So you can learn all about all these different things by coming here, and we're excited about, you know, kids being able to understand that metaphor because it's really empowering. They can actually talk to other people about it, and it helps to address a lot of the rising anxiety that we see about climate change, that if a young person understands the basic dynamics and can talk to somebody else about it, then they can take action. And if they can take action, that fuels hope, and hope is contagious.
My name's Alana Mandelson, and this is a collaboration that I did with Janine Benyez, who's the head of the Biomimicry Institute in Montana. I was privileged to have the opportunity to work with Janine Benyez, who works in biomimicry. And biomimicry is really looking at nature as the mentor. Nature for examples of how best to engineer, how best to grow, and how best systems we have to learn from. So in the collaboration, we chose 4 different elements. We chose the gravel bed river, which is a system where the water never floods. What happens is the water goes underground and comes up somewhere else. So it's a way where the water itself is taking care of the flooding. The other thing that the two of us chose is fungi, which is mycelium mushrooms, and that's the system that they have both of being able to decompose things that they're the composters of the world, and they have a communication system that's remarkable in the way that it can give knowledge back and forth. So she was looking at the mycelium and the structure both of decomposing and as the communication. And in this piece, she was looking at milkweed. And milkweed has an amazing system because it has latex in its leaves, and latex is a poison. And so it actually creates its own way of not being eaten by insects. So its own way, so it has its own toxins in its system as part of it. So that's, and all the text, I don't know if, is written by Janine Benyez, and the paintings are by mine. We chose to collaborate, or she collaborates. She both writes books and I mostly paint, so that was the collaboration. And this was the mangrove system, and we chose that one to highlight mangroves both as a system that changes fresh water into salt water, but also has a structure that stops flooding and stops erosion. So in each one of these systems, and she has many, many more, there's a way of learning from nature. And she also created this website called asknature.org. And it's, you know, you can go on there and find, if you're building a bridge and you want to know what nature has to offer, that's where you'd go and look. It's fabulous.
Respect Mother Earth as you would your own mother. Her health and our future are intertwined. Our traditions carry the wisdom of generations. Listen to them, learn from them, and help us keep them alive. Every species has a role in the ecosystem. Protect them as you would like to be. Understand the land you live on, its history, and its original stewards. Acknowledge, respect, and support Indigenous rights and sovereignty. Water is life. Defend it with yours. Our languages are sacred. Supporting their revitalization is supporting our future. Educate yourself on the real histories, not just the convenient ones. Empower our youth. They are the seeds of our future and the resilience of our ancestors. Honor the treaties. We honored yours. See us as contemporaries, not as characters from the past. We are here, and our culture is alive. Climate change affects us all, but not equally. Protect the most vulnerable. Listen more than you speak when Indigenous people share their stories and truths. Support Indigenous artists, creators, and entrepreneurs. Advocate for the protection of sacred sites. They are not just pieces of land. Remember that Indigenous rights are human rights. The fight for one is the fight for the other. Understanding is the first step toward healing. Educate yourselves. Demand accurate representation in media and education. We matter too. Support efforts to bring missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls home. Their lives matter. Believe in the power of youth-led movements. We are not just leaders, we are tomorrow. Treat self-determination like you treat self-respect. We all want it, so why can't we have it too? Colonization isn't dead, it just has a different name. End it before it ends us all.
Love is the answer. Forgiveness brings you peace. Be courageous. Be yourself. Follow your heart.